Welcome to Wide Right College Football Week number 7 recap. I'm your host, Coach Cast. Today, our first panelist, he's the beast from the East. He's the assistant to the president of the Doug Flutie fan club. His picks are so good, we think they're almost like cover 2 defense. Please welcome to the broadcast, Lindsey Coyle.
Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you all here again.
Nice. I think it's just us two.
Well, it's always nice to see the two of us.
The two of us, the two Utes. Our next panelist, he's our foremost expert on college football. He brings you the information that only the coaches know. Please welcome to the screen, Hunter. No green screen?
No, it wasn't working.
Oh, nice. All right. Well, at least your body looks like it belongs on your head, you know. We were in the backstage, and he was on green screen. It was quite interesting. All right, so welcome to Week 7 recap of college football. Hey, Hunter, go close the door to your room or the blanket. I can hear myself talking.
It is. What do you want me to do?
I don't know. I'll just stop yelling so much.
I'll try to keep myself muted till I talk.
We have a lot of Week 7 excitement here. I have to update some games here in a minute. We got some big stuff going on here. See, let's get to the comments first. Let's say hi to everybody real quick. Let's say hi to Christian. What's going on, buddy? I'll get you on here in just a minute. Hi to Bocce. Thanks, Bocce, for stopping by.
Hey, Bocce.
Say hi to Diabolical 58, John. We appreciate you watching. Say what's going on to Chris Hodges. It's good to see you in the chat there, Chris Hodges. We got Raging Cajun Garage. Thanks, Raging, for stopping in. All right. We've got ourselves quite a cast of characters watching us tonight. I like it.
Good crew. I love it.
Good crew. Excellent crew. Not good. Excellent. So change our aspects. Oh, look. There we are. All right. So let's start with, we see our top 25. Anything big happen in the top 25 today? Anyone? No? No?
Just a couple. I don't know. Nothing exciting, I guess.
Nothing exciting. All right. Well, let's get to it. Let's get over here to the info here. Let's talk about the college football Week 7 news. Oh, my goodness. Number 8, Oklahoma State suffers their first loss this week to TCU. Number 3, Alabama loses to Tennessee on the last-second field goal. NC State quarterback Devin Leary is out for the season with a torn pec. FCS number 1, North Dakota State. See, we cover the small schools. They lose to their rivals, South Dakota State. Michigan running back coach Mike Hart returned to the sideline this week, so that was good to see after a scary medical emergency last week. So that's kind of the news of the day. You know, if you're watching USC, they're up by 7 right now in Utah. It's 35-28. I'm going to hop in here and look at a couple of scores so we can kind of see what's going on in the late window. I think Mississippi State and Kentucky are in a really tight one as well. It looks like Clemson has just turned on the blowout gun against Florida State. They are taking no prisoners versus them right now. So my upset pick of the week doesn't look all that hot. So it's 34-14 Clemson late in the game. Mississippi State is down by 3 to Kentucky late in the game. USC's up by 7, but, you know, there's still a lot of time left. That's over a quarter and a half. And what else do we have going on? It's all the top 25 current games. I think we have some – I think Air Force just kicked off versus UNLV. We'll check in on that game here in a minute. And we'll cover our we'll take a look and see what they're doing when we cover our salute to the service academy. So – y'all ready to rock and roll through this top 25? You want to start talking games here?
Yep.
All right.
Let the ridicule.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right.
This week was my comeuppance.
Let's just cover the upsets first. So we just kind of, because there's going to be some upset folks today, like some really upset folks today. So let's go out of order. Let's just tell you right now, number 6, Oklahoma State, they lose at TCU in overtime, and they could have done anything more to screw up the game along the way. They shot themselves in the foot continually, losing the game. and it's just bad. What are your thoughts on that one, Lindsay? Give me 30 seconds of Lindsay's thoughts on.
I wish I watched the last few minutes of that game because I had that as my upset of the week, TCU beating Oklahoma. My score that I picked was 28-27. Boy, was I wrong. But when I was slipping back between that and the Tennessee-Alabama game, and I missed the final minutes, I wish I watched them because it looked like it was more exciting than I gave it credit for.
No, I think you made the right choice watching the Alabama-Tennessee game.
Which was another
paid off.
barn burner. It was a great game.
Oh,
but,
man.
You know, I wish I saw the tail end of the TCU. I was bobbing back and forth between them all day. So,
all right, Hunter, what do you think? Oak State versus TCU. Give me 30 seconds of breakdown on this one.
You know, Oak State had it won until Spencer Sanders struck again. You and I both watched it. He threw that pick to TCU, and that was the momentum shift. TCU knew at that point they could go and tie the game and then go win the game.
Yep. All right. Number 3, Alabama loses to number 6, Tennessee. Good old Rocky Top strikes again. How about the performance by Hendon Hooker and the Tennessee Volunteers? Man, offense and defense. Now, look, they gave up 49 points, right? But you're in an absolute slugfest with the number 3 team in the nation. You're doing great. You look good. So, Lizzie, what are your thoughts on number 6 Tennessee taking down number 3 Alabama?
When I was thinking about this game during the week, I really hemmed and hawed about picking a winner on this one. And for most of the week, I was edging toward Tennessee, but I wound up picking Alabama. In fact, I forgot to send you a pick on that till earlier today. I wound up going with Alabama for my pick, and I really should have gone with my initial inclination on this. And what really had me thinking Tennessee was, and for some reason I factored it out when I went with my final pick, is Alabama's inclination toward absurd and obscene penalties, which they more than lived up to today, and also the fact that Young was just coming back from an injury. Now, while Young's performance was very good, the fact is the team gave up the most penalties it has ever given up in a game. They gave up 17 penalties and 130 yards. How this game was this close is beyond me, given the rudimentary mistakes Alabama was making between their pass interference calls and their help me out. What's this mean? Jesus.
False start.
False starts. Thank you. Crying out loud. Between the false start penalties, the pass interference penalties, they were just giving this game away. How they kept it so close was beyond me. They did not deserve to win it, given how they played as a team, although some individual performances were very good. I did enjoy watching Young play, but Hendon Hooker was on his game. Not much defense given the incredibly high scoring, but it was the game of the week that we picked to watch, and I'm glad I picked this one because it was very good. If you like watching a slugfest, this was the one.
There you go. All right, Hunter, what do you think? Alabama, Tennessee?
College kickers.
Yeah.
It's nothing really else about it. I mean, Will Riker misses that kick, and then Tennessee gets some big plays and kicks it. Now, Rajan, I see you type in that if Saban doesn't get the team under control, kiss the season goodbye. You got a bye week coming. I don't know. You lost to a really good Tennessee team. There's no guarantee that this is it for the Tide. I really doubt that it is, honestly. They had an INT that would have ended the game, and they had a pass interference on it that was really iffy. But that's why they don't leave games up to refs, don't leave games up to kickers. So Alabama has plenty of chance to bounce back. Tennessee, good win. Get ready for Georgia and Kentucky.
Yep.
Yeah, and
all right.
Alabama did not need this win in order to advance into an SEC championship game. So they already – this hasn't hurt them in the standings as far as that's concerned in the postseason. So I don't know that it's really going to do them in. But once they start – what we really saw here was what happens when you have a top-ranked team play another top-ranked team, but one top-ranked team commits an awful lot of penalties. Then all of a sudden the level of excellence between teams is going to come down to something, and they came down to the penalties. And you're not going to expect to win too many games if you continue to do what you're doing. How they reverse this course, I don't know. I'm certainly no coach, but how do you get your guys to get their heads in the game and stop making stupid penalties? I'm sure Saban had the magic wand. He would have waved it by now, because now we're 7 games in, and there's still, from week 1 to week now, they really haven't changed as far as their penalties are concerned. They had 15 week 1, they had 17 today.
Well,
they don't like the color orange, apparently.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about another orange team. Number 18, Syracuse defeats number 13, North Carolina State. Now, the problem, Syracuse scored 24 points. North Carolina scored 9. The problem with North Carolina is their star quarterback, Devin Leary, was out. He's got torn pec. He's going to be out for the rest of the season. And I tell you what, when you lose your starting quarterback, I know one player doesn't make the team, but one player makes the team a lot better. So Syracuse has got it rolling. Dino Babers, he's the coach of Syracuse. He's a pretty top-notch coach. He likes to play the underdog card, and he's playing it well. Syracuse is rolling. They're going to be a dark horse in their conference. I'm going to go to Hunter on this one because he can speak a little bit more intelligently on number 18 Syracuse. So go ahead and run with it, Hunter.
You know what? They play – I don't know what the stats are on this game particularly, but they play a lot of mistake-free football. Garrett Schrader and Sean Tucker are both great run threats. Syracuse can take control of the ball and just sit on top of the clock, and they just keep getting first down. They can score kind of when they need to. I mean, they're 6-0. I think they're in the other division from Coastal in the ACC, so they have a real shot at making the ACC championship game if they don't have Clemson on their schedule. They got to take down North Carolina. They got to take down Duke, but those are possibilities. This Q's team is probably the best Q's team since 1945.
There you go. Lindsay, you're from the East Coast. Tell me a little something that you know about Syracuse.
I know they showed up to play today, and they were pretty dominant. Their performance, given that they're lower in the rankings, I think they're going to see a kind of a flip-flop in the rankings come next week, because they dominated NC State, category by category in this one. They dominated in total yards, passing yards, rushing yards, yards per play. They simply just had a better team, better performance, and it'll be interesting to see how they are able to move going forward. But I was pretty interested in how they did today. They were putting up points in every quarter. They were very consistent in how they applied themselves, and it showed.
All right.
Well, actually, I'm completely wrong. They played Clemson next week. Houston Clemson showdown next week.
Oh man, we might be foreshadowing the game of the week next week. I don't know. Let's just check and see. So let's move on to Georgia Southern. They defeat number 25 James Madison. It was James Madison's first soiree into the top 25, and it will probably be their last for a while. So Georgia Southern, I didn't watch the game. We kind of watched the low lights of the game. Georgia Southern pretty much led wire to wire. It was close. It was a lot of points scored, but they were just able to outlast they were just able to outlast James Madison. Now, we have a Sunbelt expert on the panel. So, Sunbelt expert, hit us with a little knowledge on this Georgia Southern versus James Madison.
Georgia Southern looked to play spoiler, and it happened. I'll pull up the stats real quick so I can get a beat on the game. But I'll say Todd Centennial, he didn't play very bad football up until this week. And it's like I talked about with James Madison against Texas State. It's my only really way of making, an idea of what happened is that, they made too many mistakes. And Georgia Southern, for all it's worth, they didn't make the mistakes that JMU did. And JMU, lives and dies by the right arm or maybe left arm of Todd Centennial. And, today they died.
Lindsay, did you see this game? Did you watch?
I didn't see this one, but this was my game of the week, WEAK. And I got it wrong. I thought James Madison was going to pull it out. I thought it was going to be a lack.
Hold on. What? You something? Wait, what? You said you were wrong.
Yeah.
No, come on.
I know. I missed a few this week. I missed a few this week.
Oh. Well, don't tell the people out there they're going to stop trusting us, us the experts here, or at least you, the expert, us the followers. Don't let them know that. Shh, download.
Well, I can't win them all.
Here's your padlock stat for it. It's 4 turnovers to 1. Georgia Southern won the turnover battle by 3. That's how you lose games.
Yeah, and 3 interceptions. Right. They had a blocked punt that was returned for a touchdown. It was a game that you have no expectation of winning if you're turning the ball over that many times, getting blocked punts returned for touchdowns, and have your opponents, pass for 578 yards. I mean, it's not a game you're going to win. It's that simple. And who knew it was going to come out like that? It must have been a good game to watch. It would have been an exciting one, I'm sure.
Well, they don't call it the Fun Belt for nothing. All right, so all right. When finally Colorado, the mighty Buffaloes from Colorado, they get their first win of the season versus Cal. So if you're a fan of Cal right now, you might be the worst team in college football. So just letting you know. Hate to let you know that. Just letting you know. I didn't watch this game because I didn't want to watch this game. But when I looked at the box sheet, I was like, holy crap, Colorado won in overtime versus Cal. It was not a high-scoring affair. In fact, it was probably I think it was 10-10 going into overtime. I may be wrong on that, but if somebody wants to correct me, they can. Anytime that Colorado wins, we're just going to call it an upset for whoever they played. So even if they played UMass, I would take UMass in this game. So, all right. That's enough for me. On to you, Christian. All right. We're going to bring Christian on here in just a second. So let's get back to business here. Let's talk about some top 25 stuff, and we'll go ahead and bring Christian in here in just a minute. I got to send him this link. And let's talk about our salute to the service academies. Now, we have a service academy that's playing right now. Wasn't really all that great of a week for a couple of the service academies. Navy goes down to SMU on Friday, and really what was a pretty high-scoring affair, especially for a Navy team. They came back and made it a game. They were down by quite a bit, and then they were able to crawl back in at the very end. They lost 40-34 in at SMU at Gerald P. Ford Stadium in Dallas. All right. So I thought it was a pretty good game. Today, Colgate and Army, it was close. Colgate was it was close for a little bit. Colgate kept it close for the first half, and then Army was able to pull away 42-17. And currently, Air Force is taking on UNLV, and that's on CBS Sports Network. That just kicked off like 17 minutes ago. Catholic Academy takes down the Coast Guard Academy 24-17. The Coast Guard Academy is kind of on the downhill slide this season, but we're still going to root for them. And the Merchant Marine Academy puts up a goose egg, or beats MIT 17 to goose egg. They pitch a shutout on defense. So congratulations to the service academies, wins or losses. Hunter, do you have any thoughts on today's games?
I'll go with Friday's game because I actually watched it. For Navy's part, it's the 2 failed drives in SMU territory and the missed field goal. I guess 3 failed drives inside SMU territory. That just puts you behind. And, as explosive as Navy got towards the end, it's had you not put yourself in that position to begin with, I don't think you need to get explosive. I think you just win the game. Good for SMU. Hey, you got an important win. Good for Rhett Lashley. I don't like to see coaches fired for what it's worth, unless your name's Jake Spavital. So we'll see. But I think Navy just made too many mistakes. Army, it looks like it didn't make very many mistakes. I'm not even gonna look at the stats. I don't need to. The score says enough for me. Coast Guard Academy didn't say enough prayers apparently. And then for the Merchant Marines, they may not be able to count as well as MIT, but I'm certain that MIT can count zeros just as well as the Merchant Marine Academy.
All right, Lindsay, what are your thoughts on the service academy games today?
When we talked about it Wednesday, the nerds from MIT lost to a real football team. No one's surprised there. Yeah, I'm sure they busted out their scientific calculators to tally up the score at the end. Oh, they didn't have a whole lot of work to do there, but these, I don't know. I'm sure they have fans. I'm sure their moms showed up to watch.
And they're a line from Friday. He's like, it was Chris Rock's show. He was like, Mr. Cos, man, I can count 2, 1, 2, 10, but you whip my ass. All right. Anyways, it was a good weekend for the service academies. I don't have a score on this Air Force Nevada game. We're digging for it right now. I'm just gonna have to we're gonna have to wing it.
It's 0-0.
0-0.
UNLV.
All right. Nope. The correction to that: Air Force has just scored a touchdown, rushing touchdown. John Lee Eldridge III runs for 60 yards for a touchdown. So clap it up for Air Force Academy. Give me one time for those guys. All right. There you go.
There it is.
Anybody curious about the war for New Mexico? New Mexico State is currently leading New Mexico 21-9 on an untelevised game.
That's a real shame.
That is kind of odd. So let's say hi to some folks. We'll take a little time out real quick. Let's say hi to some folks in the chat. We have the Cajun Coin Hunter, Boo Loquette. Boo, how you doing today?
Hey, bro.
Power Stroke Jude, he's going to man the chat for us right now. He's not able to join us. He's got some Spectrum internet issues, as will I here probably shortly because one of my comments didn't go through. So let's say hi to Power Stroke Jude, or as we like to call him, Cool Jude Santa Cruz. We have Bocce in the chat. We have Raging in the chat. Schmitty71, Doug, thanks for joining us. Man, it's good to see you. And Diabolical 58. So, guys, I appreciate y'all stopping by and watching us. So,
and I just
hope you feel better there, Cajun.
I just learned that Jude needs to learn some Spanish so he doesn't accidentally cancel his service appointment with the Spectrum.
All right. Well, Boo, I hope you get feeling better pretty soon. Sorry to hear you're not doing so well again. So
yeah, Boo, sorry about that.
All right. So that's going to do us for the service academies. Let's talk about the top 25 games. Well, I guess we had our what to watch games. And we don't talk about those. Let's talk about our top 25 if I can find them somewhere.
This guy here.
All right, we've already talked about a couple of them in our upset picks. We covered James Madison being taken down by the mighty Georgia Southern Eagles.
Screaming Eagles.
So, screaming whatever. You're
important to them.
You're getting about 45% of me right now. So, let's move on to Minnesota versus number 24 Illinois. And what did Big Brett Bielema do today, Hunter? Let's go ahead and let's talk about that. I'm gonna get Christian his links to him while y'all are covering this game.
I'm trying to get the stats out here, but you know what? They played good defense. They kept Minnesota down. They kept the run game down, and then they also didn't intentionally, but it helped them out that Tanner Morgan got hurt and Minnesota threw a game-losing interception. How much does Tanner Morgan change that if he's there? I don't know. They were still losing when he went out. And it was in the third, fourth quarter area. So, hard to say. What little of that game I watched, it just looked like Illinois was just on a different level than Minnesota. Minnesota, for their part, just, they've been not very good the last couple of weeks, and Illinois has just gotten better and better and better and better. Illinois is a very real possibility of winning the Big Ten West, and they're a tough team to beat at this point. I don't know who they play next, but I'm in Illinois. I'm sorry. Illinois is a tough team to beat, and that if I'm playing them, man, I'll be real not scared, but real concerned,
Cautious.
I guess. Cautious, that's the word. Bryce Young is probably 5'9", maybe. Dude, not 5'10". No way he's tall as me.
You're 5'10". All right, so Christian will be joining us shortly. Lindsay, what do you think? Number 24. Illinois take down.
Well, Tanner Morgan going down in the fourth quarter certainly didn't help things, but they were already well behind by that point. When Illinois came out, they came out, I think, with a chip on their shoulder because they really tore it up and put up some great numbers. 472 yards of total offense, 4 for 4 on fourth down conversions, and Chase Brown rushed for 180 yards. And this was his 8th straight game with over 100 yards rushing. And their head coach is excited about it. I think he has a plan that they put in place since the beginning of the year, and this is the fruition. And I like seeing a program like this do as well as they're doing, especially when you consider it's their 5th consecutive win, and they've won 6 straight home games. So it's all working in their favor right now. It'll be fun to see how they continue to move forward.
All righty. Okay, so let's move on to number 22. Texas hosted unranked Iowa State, and what was pretty much a real close game. Iowa State I think they put their season on the line against Texas. They were able to, they were able to put together a game plan. I mean, Texas looked pretty average, but Texas was able to persevere, come through it. Sometimes you have to win ugly. That's just the way football goes. Not every game's going to be just a beauty contest. Sometimes you're just gonna have to win an ugly one here and there. So that was my thoughts on it. Now this week we don't have a number 23 team because we have 2 number 22s. Our other 22 game is Memphis versus Mississippi State, and I'll give y'all
Kentucky.
an update on that game as soon as Hunter and Lindsay discuss number 22 Texas defeating Iowa State 24-21.
I'll let
let's
Lindsay
go
go
ahead and hear your
first.
thoughts first.
Yeah, you're right, Cass. It was an ugly win, but they got the win, and they required a late fumble to help them along and obtain that goal because it was a tough go. They went into overtime. They went into halftime with the lead, but it was dicey, and having a close game like this really comes down to a few things, and this is one of those what if games, but it all fell in their favor. They had a better game on the ground they did in the air, and it was fairly evenly matched otherwise. Low penalties, but it was a good scoring game, close time of possession, and I thought it was a good game to watch. It was fun to see Ewers out there, and he did he did a fairly good job, I think. You're right, they didn't really tear it up. I wouldn't go bragging about the quality of their play or the win, but a win's a win.
All right, Hunter, let me have it.
It's not like they went and scored a bunch of points or anything like that. Texas had a couple missed opportunities to go and blow the game wide open. Drops here, maybe a missed field goal there. But it kind of just, from the gun, I think the better team wore burnt orange. It was just, and if you want to sit there and say, if Iowa State doesn't fumble, they score. No, I think that game was over. That defense was getting after them. Iowa State, you can enjoy your close loss to Texas and your 4 straight losses and keep it moving, because for Texas's part, it's an ugly win, but last year they didn't win ugly. They just lost. So for Texas, there's improvement. And if you want to say, they're a bad team because they got a team's best game, that's fine. But as far as I'm concerned, the team's 5-2. They've blown out their rivals, and they're getting better at the places they need to get better. The defense needs to play better on 3rd and 4th down, but there's improvements to be made. They're not out of the woods. I mean, they have the hardest schedule going forward for a Big 12 team, because they play Oak State, then they play TCU, and then they play Kansas State, and then they have to go play a Baylor team that wants to beat them. So if you're Texas right now, just be excited to be 5-2, and if you go 8-4, don't be surprised.
All right, so we're going to move to the other number 22 Kentucky Wildcats. They are hosting the Bulldogs from Mississippi State, and we have reached the end of the game. And as they like to say, the end of the fourth quarter. It's a final. Kentucky has defeated Mississippi State 27-17 behind just an absolute second half domination. It was a dominant performance. So, Lindsay, what are your thoughts on number 22 Kentucky taking down Mississippi State?
Well, Will Levis has left the game with a shoulder injury. It's frustrating because he just came back from an injury. So, late in the third quarter, he got hit pretty hard in the right shoulder and went down. and he left the game. Who knows what is going to happen, this week with his recovery? But it's not not looking good for his longevity if he can't stay healthy. And somehow they pull out the win. I was wrong about this game too. I picked Mississippi State to win this one, but boy, when you only put in 20 yards on the ground, you better have one heck of a passing game. But they didn't. So they were outmatched in this one, even though they lost by 10 points. But how they played, they should have lost by more.
All right, let's get some comments here. Power Stroke Jude, not a big fan of Texas, we can tell you. He's just still upset from about 17 years ago when the Burnt Orange handed the Trojans a little bit of a loss, just a little tiny loss. So it's all right. We'll forgive him. He's a USC fan. It's okay. All right, speaking of USC,
it's all right to hate on big-time teams. It's all right to hate blue bloods. It's all right.
So let's get caught up on a couple of games going on right now. Late in the fourth quarter, Clemson still holds a two touchdown advantage over Florida State, 34-21. And USC still leads Utah. Utah's driving. They're almost to midfield. It's third down. They're down 35-20 to USC. The Kentucky-Mississippi State game just went final. And we will move on to our next guest. Please welcome the pride of Dripping Springs, Texas, Christian Whitley. What's going on, Christian?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. Something's going on.
Just doing the stream.
All right. Good deal. You have a good day today, Christian?
Yep.
All right. Sounds awesome. Our next game is, I gotta find it here. I'm behind on the chains here. Let's go to the number 19. Kansas Jayhawks travel to Norman, Oklahoma, where they surely thought they would rebound after a loss last week to TCU, and they absolutely got blown out. Now, I know their offense kept the game close, but from watching the game, it never felt like Kansas was in the game. It felt like they were behind the entire time, and all they did was play catch-up. Now, I know they only lost by 10 points, but that 10 points really feels like probably – about 30 points, in my opinion. Let's start with a resident Kansas fan. Lizzie, let's hear what you have to say about this game.
Well, this is another one. I botched this one. I had Kansas winning this game, but egg on my face for like the third time this week. I agree with you. It didn't really feel like Kansas was in the game, even though this is a high-scoring game, which means defense is slouching. But Kansas was behind in every aspect of the game. I feel like they were always trying to play catch up, and they were literally and figuratively. It just wasn't a good showing for them. They were lackluster. They didn't have the defense that they need to have to stop Oklahoma. When they're trying to defend against 403 passing yards, it's not going to go in their favor, and it wasn't. There's some issues too with some health of the players, and Dylan Gabriel he was injured again, and he was injured last game, and he was sputtering this game and just not looking 100%. So he's been in the concussion protocol, and he's passed the test during the week. So we'll see if he's ready to come back. But he's there's a lot of question marks right now. I just wish it came out better in the Jayhawks' favor, considering I picked them to win.
All right, Hunter, what do you think?
I thought that Kansas would have been fine with Jason Bean slinging the rock for him, and I was completely wrong. That team needed a leader in Jalen Daniels, not just on the sideline, but on the field. And they needed Jalen Daniels today. And not having Jalen Daniels did not help Kansas at all. 2 new mistakes by Jason Bean. It wasn't he was the one that made the mistakes offensively. Defensively, I mean, they couldn't stop anything. They were a paper bag trying to stop, a flood. So, I don't know. If you're OU, it's a big win. It's an important win. But for Kansas' sake, you got to just kind of figure out what you can do better. because Jason, you're right with Jason being the rest of the season. I know they're trying to be all coy with Jalen Daniels being out, but if Jalen Daniels is healthy enough to play today, he would have played. So you just got to ride with Jason Bean and figure out what you got to do better.
All right, Christian, what are your thoughts on Kansas at Oklahoma today?
I did not come around to watching that game. So I'm just going to say it back to you, Cass.
All right. We'll move on to then our next game, and that's going to be, again, we've covered already,
Kansas.
number 15, NC State loses to number 18, Syracuse. We already covered this one. I don't know how in-depth we probably need to go on this one.
You're good. They can only go to, the back of my chair. They can only go.
So, anybody else got any thoughts here?
I think that
Kansas?
Bocce made a good decision. I put money down on any of my picks this week.
Always use a magic 8-ball to make bets. It's a rule. It's a Vegas rule.
You probably have
Or something.
All right. So what else do we have here? I'm just kind of scanning right now. We have the Kentucky game. This went final. Mississippi State goes down to Kentucky. There's a bunch of teams that are off this week as well, which kind of muddles everything. Let's hop on to the number. Let's hop on to Auburn taking on number 9 Ole Miss. Now, this game had kind of a little bit of everything. It was kind of a blowout for a while. It was kind of close for a while. They had a weather delay. This game took an abnormal length of time to play, but eventually, Joey Freshwater and the number 9 Ole Miss Rebels were able to outlast Auburn, and probably a Brian Harsin that's coached one of his last games in Alabama. So let's start with the resident SEC Homer fan, Hunter. Tell us about this game.
Oh man, for what it's worth, Auburn fought, cool, great. Ole Miss looked like a significantly better team. They ran the ball all up and down Auburn, like they were a red track in a field somewhere. So it's hard to say for what it's worth. That what can I get from Ole Miss? I don't know. Auburn's a team that's completely cratered. They feel like they quit on their coach. I don't know. It's hard for me to say how good Auburn's going to be without Brian Harsin because we don't know who the coach is going to be. Ole Miss looked like a good team. They got another good win. They need to keep stringing them together because they still have the Egg Bowl to play, and they still have to play Alabama. I'm not quite sure who else is on their schedule, but those are 2 big games they got to go play and win. And so we'll just keep seeing with the Rebs. Right now, they're shocking the world. They're winning games. So, they could realistically end up in the SEC championship game. So we'll just have to see.
All right, Lindsay, what are your thoughts on?
Yeah, it's
Auburn
tough to root against Ole Miss at this point. I mean, this is only the second time since 1962 that they started a season 7-0, and they seem to be on a roll. Auburn's season is done. I think that things are not looking up there at all. So I don't think the outcome of the game was a surprise to anybody. But Ole Miss has a terrific run game, and they had a rushing attack that stole the show. And when you're putting up the yards that they're putting up, one of the running backs 139 yards. Zach Evans had 136 yards, and even Jackson's Dart added 115 yards on the ground from the QB. So it's when they have that kind of run game, it's going to be tough for any team that's got the skill level as Auburn to beat them. They're relentless and they're going to wear you down, and they did.
All right. Christian, what are your thoughts on this game?
I did not get to watch that one, and back to you, Cass.
All right. We've been working on this all week. This is like our little inside joke we've been working on. So Christian gets to come and hang out with us at the shop in the evenings. So he's a good sport. We really like having Christian on the game. All right, let's talk about a game that's currently in progress. the number 7 USC Trojans taking on number 20 Utah. Now, I'm trying to look for some stats on this game because I'm really curious about the passing yards for Caleb Williams versus the penalties for Utah, because I think Utah's kind of shot themselves in the foot with penalties and turnovers right now. They're only down 7 to USC. Now, I know they're at home, and they have the power of Vince Young on the sideline for Utah, which is probably keeping him in this game because Vince Young was a guest on Utah's sideline. So, they obviously that helps any team when Vince Young is there, especially the Texas Longhorns. But, mainly it's just because Vince Young is there. Anyways, so let's get to the game. I'll give you all some time here. It's 12-12 to go in the fourth quarter. Utah has the ball. They're driving. They're down by 7. It's 3rd and 8 on the USC 16. We are at an injury timeout. Jude, what are your thoughts on USC versus Utah?
You said Jude.
Did I say Jude?
You did.
I thought I said Lindsay.
Which one? Oh, it's because he and I look so much alike.
Yes.
Yeah, they look really similar.
All right. Lindsay, what are your thoughts on number 7 USC taking on number 20 Utah?
Well, certainly not a surprise. I think USC certainly has a dominant team in this matchup. But, Utah has been doing fairly well for themselves. They low penalty yards. They give up 3 penalties for 22 yards. That's it so far. So they're controlling the ball well. They did lose a fumble, but I think that they're pretty much held their own so far, and it'll be with almost a full quarter to go. It'll be very interesting to see what they can continue to do. But but I think a lot of people were hoping to see how they respond at home to USC, and so far they're doing a respectable job given the disparity where they are in the standings. So, they've got the ball right now. We'll see what they can continue to do with it. It should be an exciting fourth quarter.
All right, Christian, what are your thoughts on USC?
The game went exactly like I thought it would. Back to you, Cass.
All right. Now, the game that just went final that was a lot closer than I thought it was supposed to be. Number 4 Clemson holds on to a victory versus Florida State, 34-28. Now, this is Florida State's 3rd loss in a row, but like Lindsay said, they had a respectable showing. Some other current scores right now. Duke is leading North Carolina 35-31. This is on the ACC network. There's about 7.5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Washington State is losing to Oregon State right now. They're in the third quarter. It's 10-3. LSU is taking down Florida 45-35 in a really high-scoring affair. And if I can find it, I will get y'all an update on the Air Force Academy versus the UNLV Rebels. But till then, let's move on to our next game, and that's going to be the number – we already covered number 6 Tennessee and Alabama. We might dive back into that a little bit. Let's talk about a beatdown on television. The number 5 Michigan Wolverines absolutely annihilated the number 10 Penn State Nittany Lions. Lindsay, give me your thoughts on this game, Michigan versus Penn State.
Well, it's one of the few games that I picked properly. I had Michigan win, but I had a closer game. Clearly, Michigan came out in force, and having such a great game on the ground, they put up 418. I'll say that again: 418 rushing yards and 145 yards in the air. When you dominate the field that much, there's no way you're going to lose. And they put up way more points than I thought they would. And the time of possession was almost 42 minutes. I mean, when you have that kind of time and you move the ball that much, I'm surprised it didn't score more.
All right, Hunter, what are your thoughts on Michigan versus Penn State today?
Michigan crushed Penn State's defensive line. They sillied them. Whatever words you want to use to describe, stunning, manning them down, beating the life out of them. They ran the ball all over them. There was never a contest. It just looks like. I know going into halftime it was, but just they come out at half and Michigan just crunched Penn State, and I don't know. If you're Penn State, the difference between the top 5 teams in the country and the top 15 teams in the country is a gigantic gap, in my opinion. And Michigan proved that. Penn State, they've shown they cannot win when they tell Sean Clifford to win the game, to go and compete with another team like that. He can't do it. They don't have the offense for it. And Michigan just ran the ball over them. They got another big win. They got Michigan State coming up soon if you're Michigan. So use this momentum going against Penn State or Michigan State. Penn State, go back to the drawing board, figure out what you need to do. Maybe start Drew Aller at quarterback. To see what you can do if you're Penn State. A lot to work on.
I mean, from the start of the third on, they took an epic ass beating. Pardon my French, but that's basically what it was.
Epic is a French word.
Well, all right. Maybe I'll go with the Scottish route. They beat a piss out of him. So, anyways, just a merciless beating there. So,
yeah.
All right. So, unfortunately, there's been a bunch of games this week that are a bunch of teams, top 25 teams that are off or idle this week, as we like to call them, idle. So the game's kind of bouncing around a little bit. Let's cover number 4, Clemson, really surviving Florida State late. So the final on this score was 34-28. Clemson had a pretty commanding lead going into the fourth quarter, and then Florida State was able to score 2 late touchdowns to make the score more respectable sounding. So,
yep.
What do you think? Let's start with Christian. What are your thoughts on Clemson at Florida State?
Well, I did want to say one thing, though, about the Michigan game. I was going to say I knew there wasn't going to be an upset in the big house.
All right.
Oh, man. Making all the Michigan alums proud. They don't watch this. I'm just kidding.
All right, Hunter, what are your thoughts on number 4 Clemson taking on Florida State at Doak Campbell Stadium in Tallahassee, Florida?
You know what? Florida State could have won this game if they don't have that fumble there right at the half, right before half. They had momentum then, and they lost it, and it took them forever to find it again. That's it. That's key. That's the play of the game, in my opinion. That's the play of the game right there, is that fumble, because Clemson took the lead and was able to survive everything Florida State had to throw at it from then on out. I don't need to see any other plays from that game to know that's what lost them the game. If you're Florida State, you've got to clean up the mistakes. It's been 3 straight games now that you've lost because of mistakes. And not because you're a worse team or you have worse players. It's because of mistakes. I'm a big Mike Norvell fan. I think he can save Florida State, but right now he's got to save his job. You can't lose 3 straight games and expect to keep coaching there at Florida State, at a school that's not exactly happy with what you're doing. So you got to find a way to win some games here to close out the season. Try to go 9-3, 8-4, or you may just be counting your buyout money, because that's where you're at.
All right, Lindsay, what are your thoughts? Clemson at Florida State.
Yeah, Florida State came out and did a good job out of the gate, and there was reason for optimism. People were actually getting pretty interested, and then it all came crashing down around them. Didn't last long, unfortunately for them, that they didn't put up a better fight. But a lot of what Hunter said is absolutely true, and stuff that I would echo. It was really all Tigers all the way. They never looked back after taking a lead in the second quarter. And even though Florida State, put up a couple of touchdowns in the fourth quarter, it wasn't enough to overcome the early mistakes, which that just did them in. But once you come out and start with the promise that they did, and then it's a gut kick, and it's tough to recover from that. And I think that also shows your emotional fortitude too. If that, even though they only lost by 6 points, it was still enough to do them in early on.
All right. So with that said, we've covered the number 3 Alabama Crimson Tide going down to the number 6 Tennessee Volunteers. Number 2 Ohio State is off this week. And really, it's unfortunate the number 1 team in the nation just showed why they're number 1. Now, the thing in college football is you never play down to your competition. And Georgia absolutely played up the entire time. They did exactly what they needed to do. They crushed their opponents. They scored at will. They were able to hold them to no points. So if you can score at will and hold your opponent to no points and have an easy win, that is the best thing to do in a very, very tough conference. We all know the SEC is the toughest conference in college football, allegedly. But for them to go and be that dominant, that is a very important thing. So, do we have any thoughts on that, Christian? Georgia versus Vanderbilt?
Don't have any thoughts on that game. Back to you, Cass.
All right, Hunter, what are your thoughts on Georgia versus Vanderbilt?
As a I got accepted into Georgia, so I can, quasi be happy for them here. You know what? I said it when we saw the scores, we saw the place in the game. Georgia just laid on top of Vanderbilt the entire time. They pinned Vanderbilt to the ground and laid on top of them. It's kind of like when you have like a brother that's like 10 years older than you and you're 5 and they're 15. They just pin you to the ground to make fun of you. You can't do anything. That's kind of what it was. Vanderbilt couldn't do anything. They're an exciting team. They have a way better year this year than they did last year. But Georgia showed why they're the number 1 or 2 team in the country, depending on who you ask. They looked really good. I really liked what I saw from them. So we'll just have to see with Georgia. They got Tennessee coming. That's gonna be that's appointment viewing in my eyes right there.
All right, Lindsay, what are your thoughts on Georgia versus Vanderbilt?
Georgia had to beat up Vanderbilt, and they did. It was good to see that the game was that decisive because Georgia needed it. They were slow coming out of the blocks each of the first 3 weeks and leading up to today's game, but it was a different story for them today, and they came out on fire like they should have, and they gave them a resounding defeat, which they should have. And I agree with Hunter that their schedule coming up is not going to be easy, so they need to get some momentum. When they're going to be facing Tennessee at home, and it's not going to be easy to take on a Tennessee team that is doing as well as they are right now and the momentum that they have. I don't have enough confidence in Georgia to have a decisive win over Tennessee. I think that it's going to be a real power struggle and should be a lot of fun to watch. So I'm actually looking ahead from this game because this one, not a lot to talk about other than it came out exactly the way it should have. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how they go up against Tennessee.
Well, they got to beat Florida first, so.
That is true. They do. And, it might be, I think that they shouldn't have too much trouble with Florida, but I'm very interested to see how they do from here.
Yeah. All right. In the helmet game of the week, who's got the better looking helmet? We have Western Kentucky taking on Middle Tennessee State. Western Kentucky wins this game 35-17. Bobby Petrino shows his dominance over lower tier competition in college football. And he shows the rest of the world what a complete DB is, and he can still have a top-flight college football job. Hunter, what are your thoughts on Middle Tennessee State and Western Kentucky?
Western Kentucky's coach is not Bobby Petrino. I don't know who he is, but I'm pretty sure it's not Bobby Petrino. But they do have a good-looking helmet. Yeah, they do have a good-looking helmet. And they dominated Middle Tennessee State. Middle Tennessee State, apparently, they couldn't recover from that loss against Houston. That late loss, they came out flat, and Western Kentucky from the jump just won the game. A lot of passing yards from what I saw. So, Air Raid 101 was on display. Fun story about the Western Kentucky quarterback. He's a transfer from the University of West Florida, and he set a bunch of records there, and he grad transferred to Western Kentucky for one more year of college football. And I believe his name is Austin Reed. So, I hope that, he ends up in the NFL with the season he's having. He could very well end up in the NFL. So, always like to see small school guys end up in the league.
All right, Lindsay, what are your thoughts on this game?
Well, I think between these two teams, it's kind of a race to the bottom. But, after an 0-4 start that Tennessee had to the season, it was good to see them do pretty well. Although I think anytime you're going to match up a giant cat with a bird, I'm going to give the edge to the giant cat. As cool as Eagles are, they're going to get their ass kicked by a tiger every time.
Sorry about that. I have Christian on mute. I don't know why I have Christian on mute. When he pops back in, we'll get his thoughts on some other games. All right. Oh, he's muted himself. It wasn't me. All right. So let's move on to some other games. We will just hop back up in here to – do we need to cover our game of the week anymore? We're good on that? We good? Everybody's good? Game of the week?
I think we're good on that one. Yeah.
I think that just knocked that one out real quick.
All right.
Well, update on the USC-Utah game, though. They are tied at 35 with 7:45 left.
USC's inside the 30-yard line.
All right. Get a little update here on some other games that are currently going on. The Air Force Academy has just scored another rushing touchdown. Brad Roberts for a 3-yard run for a touchdown. So they're up currently 27-0 on UNLV. It's 11:44 to go in the second quarter. So let's see if Air Force Academy can pitch a shutout and score over 40 points tonight. It'll be interesting to see. Midway through the first quarter, San Jose State and Fresno State are both knotted up at 0. And kicking off here in another 34 minutes, Nevada and Hawaii. Now, if you want to watch this game, you're going to have to go find it on the internet because it is not on TV. So if you're a fan of Nevada or Hawaii, you're just SOL on this deal. A final from the New Mexico State, the War of New Mexico. New Mexico State 21, New Mexico 9. In the battle of the state games here, Utah State takes down Colorado State 17-13. And then we'll run through some more scores. Stop me if y'all are tired of hearing these. Doug Schmidt, I'm sorry, man. You might want to put the earmuffs on real quick. Nebraska is taken down by Purdue 43-37. In the battle of the smart kids, Stanford upsets Notre Dame 16-14. Arkansas State loses a late one to those welfare Steelers from Southern Miss. UL Monroe loses to Southern Alabama 41-34. Utah State, we already covered that one. LSU, big victory there, 45-35. Rice falls to Florida Atlantic 17-14. Arizona made it interesting for a little bit, but they fall to Washington 49-39. And I promise you, there's not a person on planet Earth that would have given the over on this game to be almost over 70 points. So there's not a person on this earth that would have taken that one. University of North Texas takes down Louisiana Tech 47-27. Tulane beats University of South Florida, and Tulane is probably going to be ranked in the top 25 here in the next week or so because I believe they are 6-1, 5-1, or 6-1 right now. So we'll look for Tulane to make a big splash into the top 25. No pun intended.
Oh, this just in. USC just scored a touchdown. Extra point coming up here now. It is now 42-35 USC.
All right. Wisconsin falls to Michigan State in 2 overtimes today, 34-28. We covered the Western Kentucky Middle Tennessee State game. Charlotte gets beaten by University of Alabama Birmingham, 34-20. Hunter, I need you to cover your ears real quick, son. We need to cover a game. Texas State goes down to Troy, 17-14. The fire spav chants coming from Hunter's bedroom in the house right now. It's very loud.
Yeah, something like that.
Hunter, do you have any thoughts on this game? What are your thoughts on this game?
Texas State's offense went cold pretty much after they scored a touchdown to start the second half. I watched part of it. It just offense can't go cold, especially when Jake Spavdall is supposed to be this air raid guru. But I guess not. For Texas State's part, we have a good chance that we have 5 winnable games coming up. But it sucks to lose this game. But the Cats covered, so if you're a betting man, please don't bet on Texas State. You're jinxing us. All right, on the next.
All
one.
right, the Bobcats from Ohio beat down Western Michigan 33-14. Kent State falls to Toledo 52-31. Eastern Michigan's a loser versus Northern Illinois. Now, I learned a fun fact about Northern Illinois today. Hunter, would you like to enlighten the fans of the Right CFB nation about an interesting fact about a player from Northern Illinois University.
So I know his last name's Pugh. I'm pretty sure his first name's Carey. I'm pretty sure it's Carey Pugh. Is an 8-year senior at Northern Illinois. He has played 8 years of college football. So for anybody who knows about Jordan Shipley back in the day at Texas, who played about 37 years of college football, this guy's giving him a run for his money.
All right.
He's
So
34 years
congratulations.
old.
Congratulations to the 30-year-old super senior from Northern Illinois. All right, let's move on. Maryland survives and beats Indiana 38-33. Gardner-Webb gives Liberty all they can handle, and Liberty comes out 21-20 victors over this game. Arkansas travels to Provo, Utah, and just unmercifully beats BYU 52-35, which did see KJ Jefferson leave the game with an apparent concussion, head injury type injury late in the fourth quarter. So that's kind of unfortunate. You get a big win like that, you're kind of crawling back up. You know, you haven't played well of late. Your quarterback gets injured late in the game. It's very disappointing. All right, on to UConn falls to the Ball State 25-21. We covered this earlier, but anytime you lose to Colorado, it is an upset. California goes down to Colorado 20-13 in overtime. The Mighty Bulls from Buffalo, they defeat the men from UMass 34-7.
Sorry,
Miami with the big victory today. They win 20-14 versus Virginia Tech. Old Dominion University establishes their dominance over the state of Virginia. They continue to win by beating Coastal Carolina 49-21. And this is a Coastal Carolina that's not a terrible team. They really aren't. And they just dominated them. So congratulations to them. Grayson McCall threw for 358 yards, and they only had 21 points. So Old Dominion is not a team to look lightly on. And the University of Miami, Ohio, falls to Bowling Green State University 17-13. You like how I worked that one in there? The Chippewas from Central Michigan pulled out a big victory against Akron 20-21. We covered James Madison falling to Georgia Southern. We got Minnesota losing to Illinois. That's going to kind of wrap it up on all the games today. We have some other games going on currently. Like Lindsay said, you have USC that scored 42-35. There's 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Utah is trying to drive the ball down the field. They're getting close to midfield, but they came up a little short. Still, let's cover some games from earlier this week. We have Marshall losing to the University of Louisiana 23-13. Baylor goes down to West Virginia in Morgantown on Thursday night, 43-40, and what really was a game that probably saved Neil Brown's job. And you have Temple being unmercifully beaten by the University of Central Florida 70-13, which the game saw America's underdog, Kurt Warner's son, E.J. Warner, come in and play late in that game. And then we have UTSA defeating Florida International 30-10. With Frank Harris, underdog Frank Harris, throwing 303 yards. All right, that's all I got for games right now, guys. Y'all got anything y'all want to talk about?
I'd like to find a little bit about that.
Who's on the Utah helmets?
That's Ty Jordan and another player. I feel so bad for not remembering his name, but there are 2 players. They're both from Texas, the state. They both unfortunately lost. They're killed in random shootings both times, and so they're honoring their brothers by having them on their helmet.
That's a nice memorial.
Yeah. Yep. Very good deal. All right, let's check on some more action real quick. We're going to hop in on some games that are currently going on. I'm going to try to give you all some scores. Let's see if I can figure this out. Memphis, they lost to East Carolina 47-45 late. So congratulations to East Carolina. And my computer froze. So we will not talk about those. All right. That's all I got, guys. Y'all got anything to add? Christian, what do you got going on this week? You got a big game this week, right?
Yeah.
Coming up? Who do
Chris,
y'all
we need to
play?
talk about your stance.
What?
Who do you
What'd
play
you say,
this week,
Hunter?
Christian? What team are you playing? No, we're not going to critique his stance today.
We're going to Buda. Going to Buda.
All right. You have a prediction for the game?
I'm pretty sure that we're probably going to win. I know that this doesn't count towards district, and we're going to be subbing in a lot of guys that aren't going to be playing generally during the season. Coach told us that a lot of those guys are going to be getting put in during the game.
All right. So y'all are going to win by a lot. Prediction is win by a lot? All right. Good deal.
Yeah.
Hunter, what do you got going on this week, son?
I have to run a lot.
Did you lose a bet?
No. It's the joys of signing lines that maybe shouldn't. No, it's not something I don't want to tell all the people. Don't want to brag about it or anything. But for the I'll talk a little bit about the Baylor West Virginia game because I watched it back and it was an exciting game. For Baylor's part, losing Blake Shapen like that hurts your chances of winning that game a lot. Kyron Jones, I thought he played pretty well. His mechanics leave a lot to be desired, but he threw that interception, so it's not good. West Virginia, though, huge win for them, an exciting win for them. Hopefully they can keep being competitive because I like competitive football teams. I don't like seeing anyone stink unless you're Oklahoma. If Oklahoma never won a game again, I'd be pretty happy. Also, if Arkansas State never won another game again, I'd be pretty happy. But
what if it was just Butch Jones?
Yeah, it's not. I don't dislike Butch Jones as much as you. I just dislike Arkansas State. Texas State, they're not really our rival, but they're kind of getting into that way. The Sun Belt doesn't have a whole lot of rivalries yet, but they're kind of coming together. As time goes on in conferences, rivalries happen. Shout out to TCU for their big win. They found a way to win. They got that interception return. They swung momentum. Max Dugan's playing excellent football. It took a little while for them to find their footing, but when they did, they did. They have I think they played K-State. I have to look, but I'm pretty sure they played K-State. That's a big game for them. They got to win that game to, basically, if they win that game, they could find themselves inside the top 10. Kentucky looked good when Will Levis was in the game. He went out and got hurt. They still won. Good for them. We've already discussed Texas as a win that they needed to do because, you haven't seen Texas win a close game in basically 2 years, 2020 or 2021. So it's good to see them finally do it. And this year too. So, good win for them. They got to go up to Stillwater next week and take on the Pokes of Oak State. And Utah's best pass catcher just got hurt. So hopefully they can find a way to overcome that and keep this game exciting and not lose. But not lose like terribly. Whoever wins that game, I'm sure will have a great time. Jude, I can already tell you're typing an essay to tell me how great USC is. So let's hope that for your sake they win. I think it's been a good week of college football. A few more blowouts than expected, especially like Michigan and Penn State. I thought that was going to be a rock fight, and it wasn't. It was Michigan just decided to bulldoze Penn State. I'm going to shout out one more thing. Texas high school football. There's an exciting game this week between Westlake and Dripping Springs, two teams that, as far as I know, have never played each other before, and they're basically – it was essentially preview what could be the state championship game here in Texas and 6A football, the best football there is, the best high school football there is in any state. So, those two teams would beat every other team in the country except for the, Dripping Springs probably beat everybody but the team they didn't beat on Friday. So, shout out to Westlake and their coach, Tony Salazar.
Proud Dripping Springs alumni too, by the way, Tony Salazar from Dripping Springs. He was a couple years younger than me, so. There's
another proud Dripping Springs alum.
Right here. You're looking at him.
Yeah, so. And like I said, I'll shout out my high school too. Shout out to Austin Bowie for beating Buda Johnson. Let's go Dogs.
All right, Lindsay, what do you got going on this week?
Tomorrow I'm working a little bit, and then I'm going to hang out with the family, watch some NFL football. I think that the season's shaping up interestingly with so many new coaches in their new jobs and seeing how they're doing. And it's always interesting to see how so many changes in the offseason, especially the coaching staff, shake out. And I know there's been some friction. It's been reported there's been some friction on the Patriots with their coaching, and they just put people in positions where they think they're going to help out most, and sometimes that doesn't always pan out. So there's a lot of people.
Cowboys.
And watching them has been a lot of fun with their quarterback situation, and it's. I think Cooper Rush has been doing a great job, and we'll see what happens when Prescott's back in there. And there's a lot of stuff to look forward to this week. So I'm going to be watching mostly football tomorrow, doing some hanging out. I got all my cooking done today, so Kathy's handling the cooking tomorrow. So we'll hang out and eat and have a good time.
All right, well let's wrap it up. I know it's a little bit earlier than normal, but let's wrap it up. Christian, you wanna start sending us out here, buddy?
Well, yeah, but I was no, honestly, it was some good games today, and I did want to say one thing. Last was the Alabama game. I think that it was evenly matched. I know that this was the first team that would have challenged them, but they definitely failed. That's all I have to say.
All right.
Back to you, Kat.
All right, back to you, Kat.
Great analysis.
All right, Hunter, what do you got?
As everyone's saying good night, so have a good night, y'all. Let's hope the Cowboys dominate the Eagles tomorrow night, and also a lot of people in the South Austin area order pizza. And in order of importance, eat 'em up, cats, hook 'em horns, and anchors away.
All right, Lindsay, what do you got for us, bud?
Everyone in the chat, thank you again for joining us. Bocce, always good to see you. Schmitty, thanks for coming on board tonight. Raging, always good to see you. Boo, Cajun Coin Hunter, I hope you're feeling better, buddy. Please do what you got to do to heal up quickly and get back at it. Jude, wish you were on the panel list tonight, but thank you for chiming in. It's always good to have you on board and weighing in with your thoughts on things. Chris Hadges, of course, Diabolical 58. Please, everyone, tell your friends. Let's get more people on board. Let's grow the channel a little bit, and we'll make the giveaway later on in the season something to be proud of. So thank you all for joining us. We appreciate it.
All right, speaking of giveaways, we do have our 500 subscriber giveaway. We might have to put an X through that and make it a lower number just so we can achieve our giveaway.
5.
So what you win with your giveaways, you get 2 Wide Right CFB t-shirts. You get a football signed by most of the Wide Right CFB panel. You get a $50 gift card to Buffalo Wild Wings and another $50 gift card to Buffalo Wild Wings. So in order to win, you have to register. We have to get to 500-ish subs. You have to in order to register, you have to be a subscriber. We have to get to 500-ish subs. You're gonna have to watch the video the morning of the Heisman. After the Heisman's read, we're gonna have a little soiree where we join. We get online. We're gonna have a little live stream. We'll announce a winner. So make sure that you go and subscribe so you can win. You'll have to make a comment on the video. We'll go and draw a winner, and we'll go from there. And so what I'll say now is I'm going to say goodbye to everybody in the chat. We'll say goodbye to Doug Schmidt. We'll say goodnight to Bocce. Thanks for watching, Mike Jones. Jude, we wish you were here, but we're proud that you're part of our team. Diabolical 58, thanks for being such a great fan. Chris Hodges, is awesome to see you as always. Cajun Coin Hunter, Boo Cat, I hope you get better soon. Raging Cajun Garage, thank you for joining us. I really appreciate you being on there. For the panelists, Christian, for the panelist Hunter, for the panelist Lindsay, I'm Coach Cass. And remember, the team that scores the most points always wins the game. Thanks for watching.